Hello, today we will talk about Sling models in AEM. After completing this session, you should have an understanding of Sling models in general, benefits of using them, and how to use Sling models in an HTML template. Sling models are available since AEM 6.0, but can also be installed in CQ 5.6.1. Main advantages of using Sling models are reusability. You can write your code based on design patterns. If you are using Sling models, you can remove all business logic from JSP and do not scriptlets. Maintenance. It's easier to test Sling models because they are Java classes and can be covered with unit tests. And also it's easier to add locking. Scalability. Cost for introducing new developers are lower and development is faster. Now, let's get familiar with the life before Sling models. Let's look at this example. Let's say you need to adapt a resource to the class which has number of properties such as you see on the screen, title and description, and for that we need to create a Java bean with private fields, getters and setters here. After that, we need to implement adapter factory interface here and specify that Sling resource should be adaptable to our custom Java bean. That here we specify that the property, and uh, here is the logic of adaptation. Read values from the resource and set these values to our model class. And finally, we can use adapt2 method and get our model object with values from resource we are adapting from. Or we can use Sling adapt2 tag to the resource in a JSP file. So, older approach steps are: first, create Java Bean class, then create adapter factory class, and finally use Sling adapt2 tag to adapt resource to our model. New approach with Sling models is much easier and more intuitive. We just need to create a Sling model class and then use it. To create a Sling model, you should mark your class as adaptables from resource and mark fields which should be populated from the resource properties using inject annotation. And don't forget to create getters for your fields. Data slide use statement is used to initialize Sling model in an HTML template. Here you can see an example of mapping between resourcing, their repository and Sling models. To mark Java class as a Sling model, use annotation model. For adapting functionality, we mark resource like adaptables from Sling resource by specifying property inside model annotation. It's also possible to adapt from a Sling request. For populating properties of a Sling model, we use a inject annotation, which is here. What can be injected? Script variables, value map and child resources, request attribute, and OSGI service references. What annotations are available in Sling model? So you are already familiar with model and inject. Next, we have name, that is used to declare a name for the injection. This annotation is needed when a property's name in repository and in a Sling model are different. Optional, mark a field or method injection as optional. Source, explicitly tie as a injected field or method particular injector. Can also be on other annotation. Filter and OSGI service filter. Post construct, methods to call upon model option creation. Via makes a Java bean property of the adaptables as the source of the injection. And finally, default, set default values for a field or method. To start using Sling model, you need to create a separate bundle for Sling models. Is not required but recommended. and specify Sling model packages, a header in the bundle manifest. You can see this is an instruction of Maven bundle plugin. When you use inject annotation, Sling will execute all available injectors into values are set. The top priority is script binding injector, which look up object in the script binding object like current page, current node, and so on. Value map will get a property from value map object of resource. Child resources injector will get a child resource by name. Request attribute injector will get a request attribute, and OSGS services will look up service based on a class name. You can find all available injectors in Felic consoles by this link. In case of out-of-the-box injectors don't cover your requirements, you can create a custom injectors. For this, you must implement the injector interface and override getValue method. Here is an example of using Sling model in an HTML template with data use statement. And here is how you can pass parameters to a Sling model. Be aware that it's available only if your Sling model is adaptable from Sling request. Now let's have a demo of a Sling model and HTML together. So I am using the same project which we have been already created from the previous part and deployed successfully. Here is the model class and here is the bundle instructions. Remember that we have to add Sling Models packages instruction for Maven bundle plugin here. So there are few properties here. Let's look at them one by one. So first, here is a text property. I added inject annotation and optional. Let's go to AEM instance now. We have a page with a text component on it and I added some simple HTML script to text component, and here is how we initialize our Sling model. Here is a fully qualified name. Now let's get a value of a text property using Sling model. For that, let me add the following code. Now let's refresh a page with a simple selector. And here we have a value of a text property, but we get it through a Sling model variable, which is a Sling model. We see that in this text component, there is another property called text is rich. Let's go back to the code. We added is rich property. You see that a variable name and property name are different. So in this case, we use name annotation and we provide a value property from where Sling should get a value. Let's see if this works. Let's copy that, paste, reach, save, refresh. So it works. Now let's try to change a value in CRXD. False. Save, refresh. Yeah, so it's working. So let's change back to true. Let's go back to the code. Here we have another injection called resource resolver and user ID property here, which is not injection, but it's commented here in the post construct. You can see. So let's uncomment, save, and let's build it. And while it's building, let's see what's here in this post construct method. So remember, post construct is called upon model creation. So we have value of a text here, and we are adding some updated text from post construct. Here it is. Next, we are adapting resource resolver to session class. Resource resolver is injected into this model, so we don't initialize it. And we are getting user ID property from the session. So it's built now. Let's go to script again. And get property user ID now. Save. And now we should see an updated text in a post construct and also user ID value. Let's check and refresh the page. So perfect. We see that text value is changed in a post construct. Here is the change. You can see updated with at post construct, and we also see the user ID of the current session, that is admin. Another feature I want to mention here is Sling Model Exporters. It's available since Sling Models version 1.3.0. And with the exporter annotation, you can define how your model can be exported as a different Java object or more commonly serialized into a different format such as JSON. Apache Sling provides a checksum JSON exporter to cover a most common case of exporting Sling models as JSON objects for consumption by programmatic web consumers, such as other web services and JavaScript applications. On this diagram, you see that traditional use case of Sling models, which is grayed out on the left, and the one with exporters. I will try to cover these Sling model exporters in more details in next part. Thank you for your attention.